The morning coffee was still steaming when Dr. Lisa received the call that would change everything. She had been working late nights at the university, trying to finish her research on ancient languages while managing her teaching schedule. Her small apartment was quiet except for the sound of her neighbor's dog barking outside. The phone rang 3 times before she picked it up. On the other end was Director Williams from the United Nations office downtown. His voice sounded different than usual, almost nervous. "Lisa, we need you to come in today. There's been a development with our visitors." 6 months had passed since the ships appeared. Lisa remembered that day clearly. She was grading papers when her student burst into the classroom, shouting about strange objects in the sky. Everyone thought it was a joke until they looked outside and saw the beautiful crystal structures floating above the city like giant diamonds. The world held its breath for weeks. Military forces prepared for the worst, but nothing happened. The ships just waited, silent and still. Then came the first message, broadcast in perfect English across every communication device. "On Earth, we come in peace. We wish to learn about your people." The beings who emerged from the ships looked almost human, but taller and more graceful. Their skin had a slight shimmer, like moonlight on water, and their eyes were larger than human eyes. They called themselves Zephyrians, and they came from a distant star system. Lisa had been part of the language team from the beginning. Her job was to help translate their complex communication methods into something humans could understand. The Zephyrians spoke not just with words, but with subtle changes in tone and energy that most humans couldn't detect. Princess Lyra was different from the other Zephyrians. While her people remained formal and distant, she showed genuine curiosity about human life. During their meetings, she would ask strange questions about simple things like why humans kept pets, or why they decorated their homes with pictures. "Director Williams," Lisa said into the phone, "what kind of development?" "The princess has made a request, a personal one. She wants to spend time with a regular human, not a diplomat or a scientist, just someone living a normal life." Lisa almost laughed. "That's impossible. Security would never allow it." "That's what we thought too. But she's been very specific about her terms. She's willing to give up all her diplomatic protections. She wants to live like a regular person for a while." The idea seemed crazy. Princess Lyra was the heir to an empire that spanned multiple planets. Her people possessed technology that could solve Earth's energy problems, cure diseases, and answer questions about the universe that humans had wondered about for centuries. "Why would she want that?" Lisa asked. "We don't know. That's why we need you there. You've worked with her more than anyone else. Maybe you can help us understand what she really wants." Lisa grabbed her jacket and keys. The drive to the UN building took 30 minutes through morning traffic. She had made this trip hundreds of times over the past months, but today felt different. The security guards nodded as she passed through the checkpoints. Everyone looked tense. The meeting room was full of important people. Government officials, military advisors, and scientists sat around a large table covered with documents and tablets. At the head of the table sat Princess Lyra, looking calm while everyone around her seemed stressed. Lyra stood when Lisa entered the room. Her movement was smooth and flowing, like water. "Dr. Lisa, I'm pleased you could join us." "Your Highness," Lisa replied with a small bow. She had learned that Zephyrians appreciated formal greetings, though Lyra had always seemed more relaxed about such things. "Please, sit beside me," Lyra said, gesturing to an empty chair. "I believe you can help these good people understand my request." Lisa took her seat and looked around the room. Every face showed confusion and worry. General Martinez, the head of Alien Affairs, cleared his throat. "Princess, we've explained the security concerns. Living among our population without protection could be dangerous for you and for us." Lyra tilted her head slightly, a gesture Lisa had learned meant the princess was considering her words carefully. "General, I understand your concerns, but I have observed your people for many months through formal meetings and controlled environments. This tells me little about who you truly are, but surely you can learn about us through books, movies, and our cultural presentations. suggested Dr. Peterson from the Cultural Committee. Would you understand my people by reading our historical records? Lyra asked gently. Or would you need to walk among us, share our daily experiences, face our ordinary challenges? The room fell quiet. Lisa watched as the princess looked at each person around the table. There was something in her large eyes that Lisa had never seen before. It looked almost like longing. I wish to understand what it means to worry about paying bills. Lyra continued, to wait in lines at stores, to feel tired after a long day of work, to make friends with someone who knows nothing about politics or diplomacy. Ambassador Chen leaned forward. Your Highness, these experiences might seem interesting, but they're often difficult and stressful. Why would you want to subject yourself to such hardships? Lyra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer than usual. Because I believe there is something beautiful in the struggle, something my people may have forgotten. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. There was something deeper here, something the princess wasn't saying directly. In all their months of working together, Lyra had never spoken about her own people in such a way. Princess, Lisa said carefully, may I ask why this is so important? To you personally? Lyra turned to face Lisa directly. For a moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the room. Dr. Lisa, in all our conversations, you have never asked me what I want to be when I grow up. You have never wondered if I have dreams beyond my duties. You have never questioned whether I am happy. The honesty in her voice surprised everyone. This wasn't the formal diplomatic princess they had grown used to. This was someone who sounded almost human in her desires for understanding and connection. But surely your people ask such questions, Lisa replied. My people know their paths. From birth, we follow duty, tradition, and the greater good of our civilization. Individual desires are uncommon. Director Williams shuffled his papers nervously. Your Highness, if you were to live among our people, who would you stay with? How would you manage daily life without your technology and resources? Lyra looked at Lisa again. I was hoping Dr. Lisa might help me with this. She understands both our languages and our ways of thinking, and she lives what you call a normal life. All eyes turned to Lisa. She felt her heart racing. The princess was asking her to become responsible for an alien, being worth more than entire countries. The political implications alone were staggering. Princess, I'm honored by your request, but I'm not sure I'm the right person. I live in a small apartment, work multiple jobs, and barely have time for myself. Exactly, Lyra said with what might have been a smile. That is precisely the life I wish to understand. The meeting continued for hours. Security concerns were raised and addressed. Protocols were discussed and rediscussed. Through it all, Lyra remained patient but firm in her request. She wanted to experience human life as it really was, not as it was presented in carefully planned demonstrations. By evening, a preliminary agreement was reached. Lyra would be allowed to live as a regular human for a trial period of 1 month. She would have minimal security, basic human documentation, and a small allowance to cover living expenses. Lisa would serve as her guide and companion, with full government support and protection. As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Lyra approached Lisa. Thank you for agreeing to help me. I know this is not easy for you. Princess, can I ask you something honestly? Lisa said. This really isn't just about cultural curiosity, is it? Lyra looked around the empty room, then back at Lisa. No, Dr. Lisa, it is not, but I hope, in time, you will understand what I am truly seeking. For now, I can only say that your people possess something precious that mine may have lost forever. That night, Lisa lay awake staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, an alien princess would move into her neighborhood and try to live like a human being. The whole world would be watching, waiting to see what would happen when two completely different forms of life tried to find common ground. She had no idea that this simple request would lead to discoveries that would change both their civilizations forever. All she knew was that Princess Lyra was searching for something important, something that could only be found by walking in human shoes and seeing the world through human eyes. The adventure was about to begin. The government officials were not happy when Princess Lyra chose to live in Lisa's neighborhood, instead of the luxury apartment they had prepared downtown. The security team looked like they might have heart attacks when she insisted on taking public transportation and shopping at the corner grocery store. "Your Highness," Agent Rodriguez said through gritted teeth, "we cannot protect you properly in such an exposed environment." Lyra stood in the middle of Lisa's modest living room, looking around with genuine fascination. The small space had a worn couch, a coffee table covered with books and papers, and walls decorated with family photos and artwork from Lisa's students. "This is perfect," Lyra announced, running her fingers along the edge of an old bookshelf. "May I ask about these objects?" Lisa watched as the princess examined a snow globe her niece had given her for Christmas. Lyra shook it gently and watched the fake snow swirl around the tiny plastic. "Village inside. It's just a decoration," Lisa explained. "Something pretty to look at. It doesn't really do anything useful." "You keep objects simply because they bring you joy?" Lyra asked, her large eyes wide with wonder. "Well, yes. Don't your people have things like that?" Lyra set the snow globe down carefully. "Everything in Zephyrian homes serves a specific purpose. Beauty and function are always combined. We do not understand the concept of keeping something purely for emotional reasons." The first week was like having a very polite alien child learning to be human. Lyra had studied Earth customs, but experiencing them was completely different. She stood in the grocery store for 20 minutes trying to understand why humans needed so many different types of breakfast cereal, but they all provide similar nutritional value. She said, staring at the colorful boxes, "Why do you need 47 varieties, Choice?" Lisa replied, grabbing her usual brand. "Some people like chocolate flavors, others prefer fruit. Some want extra vitamins. Others want less sugar. We're all different." "Different," Lyra repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "Yes, I am beginning to understand this concept." The princess struggled with many things Lisa took for granted. She couldn't understand why people got angry when buses were late, or why they rushed through crosswalks when the light was about to change. She watched children playing in the park with the intensity of a scientist studying a new species. They are not following any organized plan, she observed as kids ran around the playground. Yet they seemed to enjoy this chaos. "That's the point," Lisa laughed. "Sometimes the best fun comes from not having a plan." Lyra tried playing with the children one afternoon. At first, she approached it like a formal activity, asking them to explain the rules of tag and requesting clarification about the objectives of hide and seek. The kids found her strange but interesting. Soon she was laughing and running around like any other person at the park. "I understand now why your young ones engage in unstructured play," she told Lisa later. "It teaches them to think quickly and adapt to unexpected situations." But it wasn't just human customs that fascinated Lyra. She was equally amazed by human emotions and relationships. She watched Lisa argue with her sister over the phone about their mother's birthday party, and couldn't understand why family members would disagree about celebrating someone they all loved. "Among my people, family decisions are made collectively and logically," Lyra explained. "Emotional disputes are resolved through harmony sessions where everyone's feelings are balanced and merged." "That sounds nice in theory," Lisa said, hanging up the phone with a frustrated sigh. "But sometimes people need to work through their feelings themselves. Sometimes arguing is how we figure out what really matters to us." Lyra spent hours observing the neighbors. She watched Mr. Chen water his garden every morning while talking to his plants. She saw a teenage couple holding hands and looking nervous around each other. She noticed how Mrs. Williams always checked her mailbox twice, hoping for letters from her grandchildren. Everyone has their own small rituals and hopes, she told Lisa one evening. Each person carries private dreams and worries that others cannot see. "That's what makes us human," Lisa replied. "We're all living our own stories, even when we're together." The princess began developing her own preferences and opinions. She discovered she liked spicy food, even though it made her eyes water. She enjoyed watching cooking shows on television fascinated by how chefs combined ingredients in creative ways. She learned to appreciate music, spending hours listening to different genres and trying to understand why some songs made people happy while others made them sad. Music seems to speak directly to emotions, she observed. It bypasses logical thought and creates feelings without words. Lyra also started having opinions about things that surprised both her and Lisa. She disliked crowded shopping malls but loved busy farmers' markets. She found action movies boring but became addicted to romantic comedies. She complained about the weather for the first time in her life. When it rained for 3 days straight, I never understood why Zephyrians who visited other planets always talked about missing home, she admitted. Now I think I would miss the way coffee smells in the morning, or the sound of children laughing in the park. The most significant change came when Lyra began to express personal desires that had nothing to do with her royal duties. She mentioned wanting to learn how to cook, not because it was useful, but because she enjoyed the creative process. She talked about maybe getting a pet someday, just for companionship. On my world, I know exactly what I will do every day for the rest of my life, she told Lisa. Here, I wake up wondering what might happen. It is frightening and wonderful at the same time. Lisa noticed that Lyra was becoming more expressive with her face and body language. She learned to shrug, to roll her eyes playfully, and to gesture with her hands when she talked. Her formal diplomatic posture gradually relaxed into something more natural and human-like. The communication from her home planet became a source of tension. Emperor Kevin sent daily messages asking about her progress and requesting detailed reports about human culture. Lyra's responses became shorter and less frequent as the weeks passed. My father wants to know when I will return to resume my duties, she confided to Lisa. But I feel like I'm just beginning to understand what it means to be an individual. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Lyra was quiet for a long moment, watching people walk by on the street below. On Zephyra, we think as one people, one mind, one purpose. Here, everyone thinks their own thoughts and makes their own choices. I am starting to have thoughts that are only mine. Lisa felt a chill of understanding. This wasn't just about cultural exchange anymore. Something fundamental was changing in Lyra, something that might not be reversible. Are you okay with that? Lisa asked carefully. I do not know, Lyra admitted, but I cannot stop it from happening. Every day I become a little less Zephyrian and a little more something else. As the second month began, Lisa realized they were both changing. Living with Lyra had made her see her own world differently. She noticed things she had always taken for granted, and she began to appreciate the messy, chaotic beauty of human life in ways she never had before. But she also began to worry about what would happen when this experiment ended. Lyra was becoming more human every day, but she was still an alien princess with responsibilities to her own people. And those people were starting to ask questions about why their heir was taking so long to complete what should have been a simple cultural study. The real test was just beginning. Lisa noticed the change on a Tuesday morning when Lyra forgot to check her daily communication. From home, the princess had always been punctual about her royal duties, but lately she seemed more interested in helping Lisa grade papers than reading. Messages from the Zephyrian Council. Aren't you going to answer that? Lisa asked, pointing to the blinking crystal device on the kitchen counter. Lyra glanced at it and shrugged, a gesture she had learned from watching humans. It can wait. I want to finish reading these student essays about their dreams for the future. This was new. The old Lyra would never have put personal interest before official business. Lisa watched as the princess smiled while reading about a young student who wanted to become a marine biologist to help save the oceans. This child writes about changing the world, Lyra said, her voice filled with wonder. She believes one person can make a difference to an entire planet. That's very human. Lisa replied, we're taught that individuals matter, that personal choices can change everything. Yes, Lyra said quietly, I am beginning to understand this belief. That afternoon, while they were walking through the local market, Lyra suddenly stopped moving. Her face went pale, and she grabbed Lisa's arm with surprising strength. "We need to go home," she said urgently. "There's something I must tell you." Back in the apartment, Lyra sat on the couch with her hands folded in her lap. She looked nervous, which was strange because Lisa had never seen her show anxiety before. "Lisa, I have not been completely honest about why I came here," she began. "My request to live among humans was not just about cultural curiosity." Lisa felt her stomach drop. She had suspected there was more to the story, but hearing it confirmed made her worry about what she had gotten herself into. "What do you mean?" she asked, sitting down across from the princess. Lyra stood up and began pacing around the small room. "My people are dying, but not in the way you might think. We are losing something that makes us who we are." She stopped in front of the window and looked out at the busy street below. People were walking in different directions, each focused on their own activities and goals. For thousands of years, Zephyrians have worked together as one mind, one people, one purpose, she continued. "Our technology connects all our thoughts and feelings. We share everything and decide everything together." "That sounds wonderful," Lisa said. "No conflicts, no misunderstandings. It was wonderful." Lyra agreed, but something has gone wrong. Our young people are losing the ability to think individual thoughts. They can no longer form personal opinions or make choices that differ from the group. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "What exactly are you saying?" Lyra turned away from the window and faced her. "In 3 generations, maybe less, we will become what you might call a hive mind. Every Zephyrian will think exactly the same thoughts and want exactly the same things. We will be one creature with millions of bodies instead of millions of individuals working together." The room was quiet except for the sound of traffic outside. Lisa tried to process what she was hearing. An entire civilization was losing its individuality, and somehow she was supposed to help solve this problem. "But why come to Earth?" she asked. "Surely there are other species in the galaxy who could help." "We studied many civilizations before coming here," Lyra explained. "Most advanced species eventually develop collective consciousness like ours. But humans are different. You have maintained your individuality despite thousands of years of technological progress." Lisa thought about this. Humans certainly hadn't lost their individual personalities. If anything, modern technologies seem to make people more focused on their personal identities and unique perspectives. "So you came here to learn how to stay individual?" Lisa asked. "I came here to remember what it feels like to be one person with one mind," Lyra said. "And it is working, but perhaps to well, over the next few days." Lyra explained more about her transformation. She told Lisa about waking up with thoughts that belong only to her, about developing preferences that her people would find strange, about feeling emotions that weren't shared with the collective consciousness. "Yesterday I disagreed with my father about something for the first time in my life," she admitted. "He wanted me to return immediately to begin preparations for taking over the throne. I told him I was not ready." "What did he say?" "He was shocked. Zephyrian children do not disagree with their parents. We reach consensus about everything through our mental connections." Lisa was beginning to understand the scope of the problem. Lyra wasn't just learning about human culture. She was becoming human in the way she thought and felt. "Are you scared?" Lisa asked. "Terrified," Lyra replied honestly, "but also more alive than I have ever felt before." The changes in Lyra became more obvious each day. She started having strong opinions about things that didn't matter much, like preferring strawberry ice cream over chocolate or getting annoyed when people didn't return their shopping carts. She laughed at jokes on television and cried during sad movies. "I understand now why humans write so much poetry about love and loss," she told Lisa one evening. "When emotions belong only to you, they feel more intense." But the transformation was causing problems back home. Emperor Kethrina's messages became more urgent and concerned. He couldn't understand why his daughter was taking so long to complete what should have been a simple cultural study. "He can no longer sense my thoughts," Lyra explained. "Our mental connection is breaking. To him, it must feel like I am dying, Lisa realized they were facing an impossible situation. If Lyra stayed on Earth and continued changing, she would lose her connection to her own people forever. But if she returned now, she might lose the individual consciousness she had developed. What happens if you go back? Lisa asked. I do not know, Lyra admitted. I might be able to help my people learn about individuality, or the collective consciousness might absorb these new thoughts and make them disappear. And if you stay, I become fully human in my thinking, but I abandon my responsibilities to my civilization. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about entire planets full of people slowly losing their ability to be themselves. She thought about Lyra, who had risked everything to experience what it meant to be an individual. She also thought about the young Zephyrians Lyra had mentioned, according to the princess. Several others had begun asking questions about individual consciousness. Some had even requested their own cultural exchanges with other species. Maybe you're not the only one who wants to change, Lisa suggested the next morning. Perhaps. Lyra said, but wanting change and achieving it are different things, and there are many among my people who believe individual consciousness is a disease that should be cured, not encouraged. The weight of responsibility was enormous. Lisa realized she wasn't just helping one alien princess learn about humanity. She was potentially involved in determining the future of an entire civilization. The question was, could one person's transformation really save a whole species? And what would happen to both their worlds if they failed? As Lisa watched Lyra make breakfast while humming a human song she had learned, she knew they were running out of time to find answers. The princess was becoming more human every day, but that might not be enough to help her people, and soon, Emperor Kethrin would demand his daughter's return, whether she was ready or not. The real challenge was just beginning. The morning everything changed started like any other. Lyra was making pancakes while listening to the radio, singing along to a song she had memorized. Lisa was grading papers at the kitchen table, enjoying the peaceful routine they had developed. Over the past months, then the sky outside their window began to shimmer. Lisa, Lyra said quietly, her voice suddenly formal again, my father has arrived. Through the window, they could see a massive crystal ship appearing above the city. It was bigger than any vessel that had come to Earth before, and its presence made the morning air vibrate with energy. Lisa felt her heart sink. She had known this moment would come, but she wasn't prepared for how much it would hurt. Over the months, Lyra had become like family to her. The thought of losing her friend felt overwhelming. How long do we have? Lisa asked. Not long. He will expect me to come to him immediately. But Lyra didn't move toward the door. Instead, she stood at the stove, staring at the half-cooked pancakes. Lisa could see her hands shaking slightly. Are you ready? Lisa asked gently. No, Lyra replied honestly. I do not want to leave. The communication device on the counter began flashing urgently. Emperor Kethrin's voice filled the room, speaking in the musical language of the Zephyrians. Even without understanding the words, Lisa could hear the authority and concern in his tone. Lyra answered in the same language, but her voice sounded different, where her father spoke with the collective harmony of their people. Lyra's words had developed the individual inflection she had learned from humans. After the conversation ended, Lyra translated for Lisa. He says I have been contaminated by human emotions. He wants me to come home immediately for cleansing and restoration. Cleansing? Lisa felt alarmed. They will try to remove the individual thoughts I have developed and reconnect me fully to our collective consciousness. Lisa stood up from the table. But that would erase everything you've learned, everything you've become. Yes, Lyra said. Simply, I would return to being the perfect Zephyrian princess, thinking only the thoughts my people approve of. The next few hours were chaotic. Government officials arrived at the apartment, along with military advisors and diplomats. Everyone wanted to know what Emperor Kethrin planned to do, and whether his presence threatened Earth's safety. He's not here to harm anyone, Lyra explained to the emergency meeting that convened in Lisa's living room. He simply wants his daughter. Back Director Williams looked stressed as he shuffled through urgent reports. Princess, Your father has offered us incredible gifts in exchange for your immediate return. Medical technology that could eliminate cancer, energy systems that would end climate change, knowledge that could solve humanity's greatest problems. Lisa watched Lyra's face as she absorbed this information. The princess looked torn between her personal desires and her sense of duty to both civilizations. He is trying to make it impossible for Earth to refuse, Lyra said quietly. If I stay, humanity loses all these benefits. If I go, I lose myself. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward in his chair. Princess, with respect, isn't your duty to your own people more important than your personal feelings? That is exactly the kind of thinking that has led my people to lose their individuality. Lyra replied sharply, always putting the collective good above personal needs and desires. Lisa could see that Lyra was becoming more distressed as the pressure mounted. Various government officials took turns explaining why she should return home, each one emphasizing the benefits to humanity and the importance of maintaining good relations. With the Zephyrian Empire, what do you want to do? Lisa asked during a brief break in the meetings. I want to choose, Lyra said, for the first time in my life. I want to make a decision based on what I believe is right, not what others expect of me. But the choice seemed impossible. If Lyra stayed on Earth, she would become an exile from her own species. Her people needed her to help them avoid becoming a hive mind. But she couldn't help them if she abandoned her own individual consciousness. That evening, after all the officials had left, Lyra and Lisa sat together on the couch watching the sunset. Through their small window, the princess looked exhausted and overwhelmed. I have been thinking about something, Lyra said. What if there's a third option? What do you mean? What if I could find a way to be both Zephyrian and individual? What if I could help my people without giving up what I have learned here? Lisa wasn't sure what Lyra was thinking, but she could see hope returning to her friend's eyes. Tell me, Lisa said, I could return to my people, but as Earth's ambassador, I could spend time in both worlds, helping young Zephyrians experience the same transformation I have undergone. It sounded like a wonderful idea, but Lisa could see the problems immediately. Would your people accept such an arrangement? And would you be able to maintain your individual consciousness while living among the collective? I do not know, Lyra admitted, but I think it might be our only chance to save both my people and myself. The next morning brought more complications. News reports showed that several Earth governments were secretly negotiating with Emperor Catherine, trying to secure the best deals for his offered technologies. Some wanted Lyra to stay to maintain the relationship, while others wanted her to leave quickly to prove Earth's trustworthiness. They're treating you like a bargaining chip, Lisa said angrily after reading the latest headlines. In a way, I am, Lyra replied sadly. My value to both worlds is enormous, but my personal happiness matters to very few people. But then came unexpected news. 3 young Zephyrians had arrived with Emperor Catherine, and they were requesting permission to undergo their own cultural exchanges with humans. Word was spreading among the younger generation of Zephyrians that individual consciousness was possible. Your transformation is inspiring others, Lisa told Lyra. Maybe you're not as alone as you thought. Lyra's eyes brightened with possibility. If others are changing too, perhaps there is hope for my people after all. However, the news also brought warnings. Conservative factions among the Zephyrians were calling for immediate action to prevent what they saw as a dangerous infection spreading through their youth. Some wanted to cut off all contact with Earth to protect their collective consciousness. Time is running out, Lyra said after receiving another urgent message from her father. I must make my choice soon, or the choice will be made for me. Lisa realized that whatever Lyra decided would affect not just her own life, but the future of 2 entire civilizations. The weight of such responsibility seemed too much for any one person to bear. Whatever you choose, Lisa told her friend, I'll support you, but remember that you have the right to choose your own path. Even if others don't understand it, Lyra smiled, and for a moment she looked like the confident princess who had first arrived on Earth months ago. But now that confidence came from within herself, not from her royal position. Thank you, Lisa. You have given me the greatest gift my people have to offer. What's that? The knowledge that I am my own person, capable of making my own decisions. As they prepared for the final meeting with Emperor Catherine, Lisa knew that whatever happened next would change everything, but she also knew that Lyra had found something precious during her time on Earth, the courage to choose her own destiny, even when the choice seemed impossible. The meeting room was packed with people from both worlds. Emperor Catherine sat at one end of the long table, his tall figure radiating the calm authority of someone who had ruled for centuries. His crystal crown caught the light and cast rainbow patterns on the walls. At the other end sat Lyra, looking small but determined. Lisa could see how much her friend had changed over the past months. The nervous, formal princess was gone, replaced by someone who sat with confidence and spoke with her own voice. "My daughter," Emperor Catherine said in careful English, "it is time to return home. Your people need you to fulfill your duties as heir to the throne." "Father," Lyra replied, "I will return, but not as the same person who left." The emperor's large eyes showed concern. "The individual thoughts you have developed must be cleansed before you can resume your proper place in our society." "No," Lyra said firmly, "I will not allow my consciousness to be erased." The room fell silent. Lisa could feel the tension from both the human and Zephyrian officials. No one had expected Lyra to directly refuse her father's command. "Director." Williams cleared his throat nervously. "Perhaps we could find a compromise that serves everyone's interests." Lyra stood up from her chair and walked to the center of the room. "I have a proposal that I believe will help both our civilizations." She looked at her father, then at the human officials, and finally at Lisa. "I propose to become Earth's first interstellar ambassador. I will divide my time between both worlds, serving as a bridge between our peoples." Emperor Catherine's expression didn't change, but Lisa could see surprise in his eyes. "Explain this proposal." "I will spend 6 months each year on Zephyra, helping to establish programs for young Zephyrians who wish to experience individual consciousness. The other 6 months, I will remain on Earth, learning more about human culture and serving as a permanent diplomatic representative." "This is unprecedented," the Emperor said slowly. "So was my request to live among humans," Lyra replied. "Yet, it has led to discoveries that could save our people from losing their individuality forever." Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. "Your Highness, how would this arrangement work practically? You have responsibilities as heir to the Zephyrian throne. I will fulfill those responsibilities," Lyra said, "but I will do so as an individual who can think her own thoughts and make her own choices, while still serving the collective good of my people." Lisa watched as Lyra presented her case with growing confidence. The princess had prepared for this moment, thinking through every detail of her proposal. "Father, 3 young Zephyrians came with you because they want what I have found. How many more are there back home, wondering if there might be another way to live?" Emperor Catherine was quiet for a long moment. "There are more than I expected. The youth speak of your transformation with great interest. Then let me help them," Lyra said. "Let me establish exchange programs where young Zephyrians can experience life among different species while maintaining their connection to home. And if this experiment fails, if individual consciousness proves harmful to our people, then we will have learned something valuable. But if we do nothing, we will definitely lose our individuality within a few generations." Lisa felt proud watching her friend present such a thoughtful solution. Lyra had learned to think like both a Zephyrian leader and a human individual. The negotiations continued for hours. Human officials wanted guarantees about technology sharing and continued diplomatic relations. Zephyrian counselors worried about the risks of exposing their youth to alien influences. Through it all, Lyra remained patient but firm about her conditions. She would not return to her old life of unquestioning obedience to collective will. She had become someone new, and she intended to use that transformation to help others. "There's one more thing," Lyra said as the formal discussions wound down. "I want Dr. Lisa to head the new interspecies cultural exchange program." Lisa felt her heart jump. "Me? But I'm just a language professor." "You are the person who taught me what it means to be an individual," Lyra replied. You understand both our cultures and the challenges of bridging different ways of thinking. Emperor Catherine studied Lisa carefully. Dr. Lisa, do you believe my daughter's transformation has been beneficial? Lisa thought about the question seriously. Your Majesty, I believe Lyra has become the best version of herself. She still cares deeply about her people and her responsibilities. But now she can also think creatively and make choices based on her own judgment. And you believe this could help our people? I think it could save them, Lisa said honestly. Individual consciousness doesn't mean abandoning your community. It means being able to contribute your unique perspective to the collective good. The final agreement was unlike anything either civilization had seen before. Lyra would indeed become Earth's first interstellar ambassador, spending equal time in both worlds. She would establish exchange programs allowing young beings from different species to experience life in each other's cultures. Most importantly, she would remain connected to both her Zephyrian heritage and her newfound human-like individuality. As the meeting ended, Emperor Catherine approached his daughter privately. Lisa could see them talking quietly in their musical language. The conversation seemed emotional, with both showing expressions Lisa had never seen on Zephyrian faces before. Later, Lyra explained what her father had said. He told me he was proud of my courage, even though he doesn't fully understand my choices. He said he hopes I can help our people find a balance between collective harmony and individual growth. 6 months later, Lisa stood in the same apartment where this amazing journey had begun. But now it was the headquarters of the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Program, with staff from multiple worlds working together. Lyra had returned from her first visit back to Zephyra with incredible news. 12 young Zephyrians had volunteered for the first official exchange program. Similar interest was growing among other alien species who had heard about the successful transformation. How do you feel? Lisa asked her friend as they watched the sunset together. Different every day, Lyra replied with a smile, and I love that feeling. The princess had kept her promise. She had found a way to honor her duties to her people while maintaining her individual consciousness. More importantly, she had opened a door for others to make the same journey. Do you ever regret asking for just one human? Lisa asked. Lyra laughed, a sound that had become more natural and joyful over time. I asked for one human, but I received something much more valuable. What's that? I received the chance to become myself. As they sat together, watching the first group of exchange participants arrive from various worlds, Lisa realized that what had started as one alien's curious request had grown into something that would change the galaxy forever. Young beings from different species would now have the opportunity to experience life through completely different perspectives while still maintaining their connections to home. They would learn that being an individual didn't mean being alone, and that thinking your own thoughts could actually make you more valuable to your community. Lyra had asked for just one human, but she had given both worlds something precious. In return, proof that friendship, understanding, and personal growth could bridge any gap between different forms of life. The adventure was far from over. It was just beginning.